and welcome. My name is Rashim Mogha and I'm your host for this Empowered Women of the World podcast, a podcast where we talk about technology, leadership, and success. As we experience the weirdness in the economic landscape, all organizations are hyper-focused on operational excellence and revenue numbers these days. Having led a multi-million dollar business, I know the pressure the sales and marketing leaders are under. So in today's podcast, I thought that I would bring in somebody who knows all about it. I have Rana Salman, the CEO of Salman Consulting, who partners with enterprises to improve sales effectiveness. Rana is also a best-selling author, a speaker, and co-founder of WISE, which is Women in Sales Enablement. Rana, I'm so excited to have you on the show finally.
I know. I'm so excited to be with you, my friend.
Rana, your journey is an exciting one, and I have known you for over 12 years. We have been each other's cheerleaders and sponsors in various forums. The audience can find glimpses of your story in my book, which is Fast Track Your Leadership Career, and my endorsement in your Amazon best-selling book as well, which I'm going to hold off and let you talk all about. But let's start with your journey. What has your journey been like? And I want audience to know that because they would then appreciate what you have to share a little bit more knowing about your journey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you first for having me. Thank you for the friendship and the support that you've provided, not just only me, but a lot of other people around the world. I'm very grateful for that. So how did I start my journey? I immigrated to the United States when I was 11 years old with my family. We came from Beirut, Lebanon. Lebanon was in the midst of civil war, and so we came here for the dream, and we my parents wanted us to have a better life. And so education was the key for us. That's the way we were, going to find the opportunities. And that's what I did for a long time. I went to school. I got my MBA in marketing and brand management. I got my PhD in organization and management before the age of 30. And I was like, oh my God, I have to work because I have a lot of debt here. You go to school for a long time. And I took a class during my PhD, and it was my professor talked about consulting, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll try consulting for a few years, get some things done, and then go back to my love of research. And I applied for a job opening, and it happened to be in sales consulting at a firm, and I got in it, and I just fell in love with sales enablement, sales itself. And close to 20 years later, I'm still in it. Been very fortunate. I opened my company about 7 years ago, and you've been part of that journey, Rasham. And what I do is I work with organizations to elevate their sales reps' performance by collaborating with sales leaders, sales enablement, product marketing, and it's been very fulfilling to truly make an impact and work and collaborate with these organizations. I've just published my first sales book by McGraw-Hill, Sales Essentials, and really, really blessed that McGraw-Hill, one of the top 3 publishers in the world, wanted to partner to do this. So lots of work and lots of things going on, I think, in our industry.
Yes, and it has been an impactful journey. I've seen you grow over the last 12 years, many-fold, Rana, and I'm so proud of everything that you have achieved. As you work with CROs of the companies, what is the biggest challenge that the salespeople face today? I see them under immense pressure, and I don't think everybody appreciates how much pressure salespeople are every day.
Yeah, I mean, we're under a lot of pressure. I say we because I also, I've been selling in my career. I've been an SVP of sales, VP of business development, and now I am the CEO. But I also sell every day. And sales, there's a lot of challenges. Now, when I work with my customers, one of the biggest challenge is building pipeline. right? Lead generation is one of the biggest challenge for sales leaders, for reps. Almost every conversation I have with sales leaders, this is top of mind. Right now, we gotta land new logos. Right now, we gotta expand within these existing accounts and go deep. Another challenge is tight customer budgets. There's a lot of economic uncertainties, as you mentioned, what's going on in the world and the economy. In fact, if I look at an article in Harvard Business Review, what they've seen is that between 40% and 60% of deals are stalled, and we're losing deals because of the customers' indecision. The status quo is one of our biggest competitor. So this big whale deals that reps may have used, of these enterprise reps may have used to landing, it's harder to do it in today's economy. And so what we're trying to do, we're trying to say, look, we got to meet our buyers where they're at. We got to actively listen to them. We got to be creative in the way we create our solutions, so then we can land at the value and then start expanding and work with our CSM team and make sure that we are adding that value and going deep in these accounts. Another thing that I also is important and that you also talk about is burnout. Burnout is real in sales organizations. In fact, what Gartner has shown is that I think they said about 89% of salespeople noted that they're burning out. And so sales leaders have to deal with, how do I inspire? How do I motivate? How do I keep my reps going to perform? Because we also see correlation between burnout and productivity. And then also, if you think about all of these challenges, of course, they impact revenue targets. In fact, when you talk to sales leaders, you rarely hear nowadays that they're meeting or crushing their quota, right? And so all of this to say is that there's a lot going on. Added to that is also layoffs. A TechCrunch, I think I read that between January 2023 to August 2023, there has been 224,000 people being laid off in the tech industry. For sales leaders and sellers in general, it's not just that they personally may be impacted or their teams may be impacted, it's also their customers may be impacted. So imagine you're working on a deal and your executive sponsor suddenly disappears, right? What do? So you have to deal with all that stress. So I have so much empathy for CROs. I have so much empathy for sellers themselves during this time, because it's not an easy time.
Yeah, and that's why some aspects that you talk about in your book, Sales Essentials, become so important, like nurturing long-term relationships, right? And you're such a great example of that, because that's one skill that I've really, every time I look at you, I remind myself, long-term relationships, Rashim, long-term relationships. So what are some things that you do in your every sales call that leads to your success and that can help our listeners today?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I think all of us, you and I talk about it, all of us are sellers. So if you have a small business, you're selling. If you are in a role where you're not carrying a bag, you're still selling, because you're trying to influence a behavior. You may be selling an idea to your boss. You may be selling, trying to hire someone. You're trying to sell the value of bringing someone in so they can give you budget, or you may truly be in a sales role. Now, here's what I highly recommend. There are things that you have to do before the call, and these things include preparation. One of the things that our customers want to, and they tell us, look, they want to be treated like a person, not a number. They want us to personalize that communication. They want us to understand their business. And so if we are not preparing, it's non-negotiable. You are going to qualify yourself out really quickly, because your buyers expect you to be prepared. So what does preparation mean? One is at minimum, check their LinkedIn profile. Try to figure out, is there some common connections? Because common connections, shared common connections, help us connect at a human level, right? So if you and I, Rashim, believe in a cause, like truly believe in a cause, and you put it on your LinkedIn, and I am also believing and fighting for that cause. Wow, what a great connection when we meet, that I mentioned that to you as we are building that rapport up front. Also, you have to also understand their role. What is their role in the organization? What is their background? What are their recent posts or comments that they did on LinkedIn that shows you, hey, what are some of the things that are top of mind to these folks? In addition to the human, you got to also know their business. And there's so much information out there that it is unacceptable for anyone to meet with a buyer without at least checking their website, without, if it's a public company, not checking their LinkedIn, their earnings call transcript, without doing some due diligence. So when you're walking into that conversation, you're not focusing on you. In any relationship, no one wants to hear someone talk about how great they are from the get-go, right? You gotta make these people understand that they're important to you. So that's the first thing, preparation. The second thing is you need to make sure that you are optimizing your presence, your digital presence, to be relevant to your clients. So LinkedIn, if you're going B2B, LinkedIn is the number one B2B social selling tool, right? So how are you making your profile relevant to your clients? Because at the end of the day, the first thing they're going to do is they're checking your LinkedIn profile. And guess what? If you're not relevant to them, why should they waste their time? So you need to start building that credibility. Does your headline resonate with your buyers? Does your summary talk to them? So when they see your summary, Rasham, they can say, wow, Rasham understands me. Like, she's saying things that really is speaking my language. So you want to make sure that you are also showing up. Don't be afraid to show up. You need to show up and share relevant information. It's not about promoting how great you are. That turns people off. But how are you sharing insights that are relevant to your buyers? So that's the before. During the call, you need to remember that how we show up matters, right? Research shows anywhere between 1/10 of a second to 7 seconds for someone to form a first impression of you. So number one, are you early to that call, right? If you're not early, that's a sign. Can they even trust you if you're not early? Are you reliable, right? Yep. Number two, what about your attire, your artificial communication, right? You're sending messages with these artificial communication. I had a buyer say, look, if a sales rep comes to a call on Zoom and has a ball cap on and his Under Armour gym shirt on, that shows me that, wow, I'm not important enough for you to really just show up, right? So first impression matters. Attitude matters. There's research that shows us that our attitude impacts how we perform, but it's also contagious. It impacts other people's performance. So when you're going from one call to another and you have this one bad call and you jump into another call with a customer and you haven't reset your mindset, that energy is going to show through. So that's the first part, is how you show up. What happens? How you start the call. How you start the call. Do we have an agenda? Right? There's some research that shows us, and I can't remember the source, but it says that in the United States, only about 30% of meetings have an agenda. Wow, costing organizations a lot of time, money, and resources. So while this may seem remedial, everyone says, well, of course we need an agenda. Do you really have an agenda, right?
But it's not just about the agenda. It's also about what do you want from this call? What is the goal of this call, right? Yes. So many times salespeople just put an agenda on there, but really you don't know what is the next step that you're driving towards. And yes, that is the part that was the biggest challenge for me in my previous PNN role, where salespeople would invite me into these calls with the learning leaders of other companies. But what do you want to get out of me, and what's the end goal of this call? That was something that they were not clear about.
Yes, one thing, because I don't want just people to stop at the agenda, because I want them also to make sure that they're spending the bulk of that conversation conducting a business level conversation, starting with the buyers, validating that research, asking relevant questions, sharing insights and educating, and last but not least, making sure that you are having time for these next steps.
So for many companies, this is the last quarter of the year. It's high pressure time. Q4 got to deliver on everything that you probably missed in the previous quarters and need to make up the numbers. What advice do you have for the salespeople?
Oh yeah. Well, first, evaluate your pipeline and be honest with yourself. There are deals that you and I know that are fluff, like take them out. Focus on the ones that show you the signs that they're going to close. And you also want to be managing your time and prioritizing these high value tasks. And so anything that requires internal meetings that do not add value to you, be bold and decline them. Right now, it's about focusing. The third thing is you want to also look for opportunities to expand within existing accounts. If your role is as a hunter and a farmer, make sure that you are also leveraging your existing customers, because it's you have a much higher chance of expanding within existing accounts and doing business with existing customers faster than if you're trying to build trust and new relationship with a whole new logo. If a deal is stalling and they're not answering you, pick up the phone, man. Pick up the phone. We always assume, oh, they're ghosting us. They don't want us. But guess what? From my experience, sometimes your emails may go to spam. Sometimes they may be so busy and they're back off so they can't see your email. So you want to be proactive and use other channels. And sometimes your beautiful voice, which is a powerful tool, may remind them that, hey, there's a human on the other side that needs your help. So that's one thing. Another thing, if your customer's budget shrink, right? And we see that, like we start a deal and we're like so excited, and if it shrinks, redesign your solution. You want to land, right? You want to land, you want to build that trust, and then you want to expand. If that is where your friction is, work with your customers, meet them where they're at. And then also, if you're facing internal obstacles, right, make sure that you bring in your sales leader. Make sure that you ask the question when someone says, oh, we can't do that because we've done it this way for the longest time. We can't change. Ask why not. Because nowadays, we got to make sure as sellers that we're also our customer's advocate, right? It has to be a win-win, but we have to be our customer's advocate. And then last but not least, especially with the holidays coming, know when your internal teams, your legal, your finance, your ops, anyone that you need in a complex deal, know their holiday, when they're taking breaks, when they're off, and also know when your customers are off, because that's where you can really get blindsided when you need legal to look at something and suddenly, the legal team is at an offsite meeting or they're on vacation. So those are some of the things that I would add.
And also, if a partner is involved in the deal, know about the partner's holidays as well. I've seen people get blindsided with that. Well, we checked with the customer, we knew we were open, but hey, the partner is closed.
Great point. Thank you for pointing out. Absolutely. I mean, it's the worst, right? And then you feel bad because they're in Hawaii and they're just with their family. They just need that break, and you're bothering folks. You're like, please help me. Let's be proactive. Okay, so Rashmi, I'm going to intervene here. You and I have known each other, and folks, I've known Rashmi for a long time. We've had career discussions, we've had personal discussions, we've laughed, we've teared up, and so through that journey, we also cheered each other's on with our career triumph and our career decisions. And we also been there when times were tough. So it wasn't all just cheerful, but there were some tough times as well. So before the podcast, Rashmi was telling me what she's working on. And I said, Rashmi, have you told your audience? Have you told your tribe, the amazing eWOW tribe? And she said, no. And I said, no. We got to cheer you on. And we got to celebrate you just like you celebrate us. So I want you to tell our audience, I want to take time for my own podcast, for my own interview. Tell us what you're doing. Tell the world what you're doing.
There's a lot of exciting stuff going on, Rana. And
I know.
And when you started asking this question, I was a little overwhelmed because there's so much that's going on in the eWOW world. We are in the early stages of developing our eWOW platform with AI elements to bring the elements of competency, connection, community, and celebration for our audience. But besides that, my own consulting and coaching services are growing in a big way. On the consulting side, I work with startups and enterprises on their scale strategy, opening new markets, how to leverage generative AI use cases, building customer advocacy solutions and value articulation. And on the coaching side, I coach business leaders on how to fast track their careers. This coaching combines element of mindset, skill set, and tool set. And in this coaching, it's very different from life coaching because I bring in 20 plus years of experience as a technology and business leader to help my clients specifically navigate complexities of the corporate and the startup world. So that's going on. And then, as you know, the preparations have already started for the next eWOW Virtual Summit that we are going to have in April 2024. So lots and lots going on in my world. But Rana, where can our audience find you and where can they find your book?
Well, first of all, you are a rock star. Even my little miniature poodle, which she's in her room, I don't know if you guys can hear her, she's excited. So where you can find me, folks, LinkedIn, right? Come connect with me. Let me know that you heard our session with Rasham. As well as if you want a copy of my book, Amazon, you can find it on Amazon. It's titled Sales Essentials. And please let me know what you think. It's very raw, it's very authentic, and I hope you like it.
And I'll add the link in the show notes so everybody has access to your book as well, Rana, in terms of where to get it from. It was such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. This conversation could go for forever.
But can.
But thank you for sharing your insights with the eWOW audience. And today's resource for you, my dear audience, is the link to Rana's book and also link to my website where you can find more information about my coaching and consulting practice. The link is in the show notes as always. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for loving, liking, supporting, and sharing the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. I look forward to seeing you in our next podcast. Till then, keep empowering the world.